Samsung's premium foldable phone is about to get upgraded. In this video, I'll be showing things you need to know about the Galaxy Z Fold 4, now rumored to include an S Pen slot. Samsung has been one of the leading lights in the recent arrival of smartphones with foldable displays. At the moment, it has two offerings in this category: the Galaxy Z Flip, which as the name implies is like a classic flip phone, while the Galaxy Z Fold has a vertical hinge where you can open it up like a book. Before I go further, please do well to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and also hit the notification bell to be updated when next I post new videos. Without further ado, let's dive right in. Now, new speculations regarding improvements that we should be expecting with the Galaxy Z Fold 4 have been popping up recently. Like I mentioned earlier, I'll be revealing everything you need to know so far about the Galaxy Samsung Z Fold 4. You might probably be thinking that no one outside Samsung has such information about the tech and specs of the Fold 4. But there have been some rumors appearing that throw light on what the new foldable may come with when it arrives, hopefully in the second half of this year. So stick with me till the end to find out all there is to know about the upcoming Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 4. Some of these speculations include a statement that Samsung is working on improving the hinge mechanism on the new Fold 4, which as you can imagine is a crucial feature of the design. Depending on how the refinements go, it's also rumored to result in a lighter chassis. This is good news because the previous model, Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 3, had better design and improvements from the earlier versions, but it was still a heavy device. So if the Galaxy Z Fold 4 should lose a few grams, it would go a long way to address that concern. Another criticism I had for the Fold 3 was the poor under-display camera. Yes, it does mean you don't have to have a punch hole, aperture, or a notch, but that's not much use if the results aren't up to snuff. It's encouraging then that the leak includes improvements to the camera, although I'd have to say that was a necessity rather than accuracy. A more curious rumor is that the under-display camera, the UDC, will not only be on the inside as it was with the Fold 3, but also make an appearance on the external display as well. I hope that the Samsung can master this technique because the results on the Fold 3 are pretty terrible. The battery doesn't seem to be getting any kind of boost in the Fold 4, which is a shame, but the rumors do state that Samsung will add improved dust proofing, something that again seems very important when you consider the grinding that grit and sand can bring to the hinge mechanism. A separate report from a Korean site stated that Samsung is working on incorporating an S Pen slot into the chassis of the Z Fold 4, just as it has in the Galaxy S22 Ultra. Presumably that would also mean the stylus will come bundled with the phone by default. The same report adds small notes on the phone's display, which are going to stay about the same size, at least 7.56 inches for the main display and 6.19 inches for the outer screen, each within 0.01 inches of the corresponding Z Fold 3 screens. GSM Arena does allude to an improved camera experience on the Galaxy Z Fold 4, but there are no specifics yet on how it would compare to the existing array of 12-megapixel f1.8 main camera with OIS, 12-megapixel f2.2 ultra-wide camera, and the 12-megapixel f2.4 telephoto camera with OIS plus 2x optical zoom. Aside from these few specs, I haven't seen anything else that lifts the veil on what Samsung has planned for the upgraded model. There's a good chance that the new Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 processor could make it to Fold 4, but anything else will have to be revealed when Samsung announces its intentions. Let us now also look at the upcoming M2 Mac Pro expected specs and improvements. Apple updates its MacBook Pro models regularly, and I could see new versions of the 13-inch MacBook Pro, as well as the higher-end 14-inch and 16-inch variants. This year, rumors suggest a new 13-inch model might arrive as early as spring, but given that the larger models are only released in October 2021, I haven't heard anything about a refresh. For now, this video will focus on the 13-inch MacBook Pro that are expected to be refreshed first, but I will keep you guys updated as I get more info on all the MacBook Pro models. Apple's last refreshed their entry-level 13-inch MacBook Pro in November 2020 when it debuted the first M1 Max. It came out alongside the MacBook Air and the M1 Mac Mini, and all three product lines are due for an update. Any improvement on design? Rumors suggest the 13-inch MacBook Pro will see no design updates, continuing to feature the same chassis with a touch bar, a feature that has been eliminated from the higher-end 14-inch and 16-inch machines. Not all rumors have agreed on the touch bar. However, Bloomberg Mark Gurman has suggested that Apple will remove it. Given the overcost, the updated 13-inch MacBook Pro will not include a mini LED display, nor is it expected to support 120Hz ProMotion refresh rates. With no design changes, the biggest change coming to the 13-inch MacBook Pro will be the updated M2 chip. The M2 chip. Apple said the M1 Pro is 70% faster than the M1 and 2x faster GPU performance than the M1, and the M1 Pro has 200 GB memory bandwidth. Stepping beyond that, Apple says that M1 Max offers 4x faster GPU performance than the M1 and comes with an incredible 400 GB of memory bandwidth. Both the M1 Pro and M1 Max feature up to 10 core CPUs made up of 8 performance cores and 2 efficiency cores. With that, I'm expecting more than the M2 chip that is expected to be featured in the upcoming MacBook Pro. Since the launch of the M1, Apple has been working on the follow-up, which will presumably be called the M2. The latest models of MacBook are Pro by the M1 Pro and M1 Max Apple Silicon. The latest MacBook Pro notebooks feature big CPU and GPU improvements, increased RAM, all new displays, expanded I/O, and much more. The M2 is expected to have a same 8-core CPU and the M1, but there will be speed and efficiency improvements as it could be built on a smaller node. As for GPU improvements, it will have additional GPU cores. 9 and 10 core GPU options are expected to be available, up from the 7 and 8 core GPU options available in the original M1. The M2 will not be as powerful as the M1 Pro and the M1 Max, which will be succeeded by the M2 Pro and M2 Max. Apple is expected to use the M2 chip in the updated 13-inch MacBook Pro and the 2022 MacBook Air. 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pro coming out soon? The current 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pro models came out in November 2021, and there hasn't been any talk about new models at this point. Apple presumably won't go for a design refresh because the 2021 models had a better look with the mini LED display, but I can count on new chips. I don't know what to expect just yet, but forthcoming 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pro models will likely use the future M2 Pro and M2 Max chips. Release timelines. Rumors out of the Apple supply chain for both DigiTimes and a Chinese source that previously provided accurate information on Apple's MacBook Pro models have suggested that Apple could introduce the 13-inch MacBook Pro at its spring event, which is expected to take place on Tuesday, March the 8th. If this is accurate, I'll be seeing the M2 chip as soon as March, which is earlier than previously suggested. Bloomberg's Mark Gurman has said that Apple has a new 13-inch MacBook Pro in the works, but he has not provided specific information on the release date. Thank you guys for sticking to the end of this video, and if you found this video interesting, kindly like, subscribe, and also hit the notification bell to get notified when there are new videos like this. If there are other rumored speculations you've heard or personal expectations that you might be looking out for in both the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 4 and the M2 13-inch MacBook Pro, let us know in the comment section below. Thank you.